Open Tech Talks is your weekly sandbox for technology insights, experimentation, and inspiration with the primary objective of learning and sharing. And this podcast is a journal where we learn from each other. Let's go to the intro.
Welcome to the OTech Talks podcast, where it's all about working on technologies. You will hear the latest tech information, and your host, Kashif Manzoor, brings together product overviews, how-tos, best practices, tips and tricks, and troubleshooting techniques.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening based on your time zone. This is Kashif Manzoor, and today we are on the session number 79, and we will discuss part of our artificial intelligence, the Sudoku problem, how to solve the Sudoku puzzles. A beginner's journey, because if you remember a few shows back, we discussed that we're going to cover three topics primarily. One is on the Oracle sides where day-to-day work is happening, and then the artificial intelligence or machine learning or data science where I'm doing MSc, Masters, and where I'm a student. So I want to share with you as a student all my learning, share. And then the digital transformation which is impacting overall. So today I'm going to share with you how to solve the Sudoku puzzles, and that was one of my assignment, frankly, just a couple of weeks back. And let me be honest that I never ever, maybe you or possibly have solved in your college, university, or and casually on a lot of newspapers or magazines, but I never ever solved any Sudoku puzzle in my entire life. And I don't remember even if I did it. And so this was an assignment to solve Sudoku puzzle as part of my MSc program. So what I did is I started to let's journal about it, and I started from very basic, I think, what it is, and to approach that one as the reference book is Artificial Intelligence, a Modern Approach, which we are reading it, and according to that, the popular Sudoku puzzle has introduced millions of people to constraint satisfaction problems. Although they may not realize it, a Sudoku board consists of 81 squares, some of which are initially filled with digits from 1 to 9. The puzzle is to fill in all the remaining squares such that no digit appears twice in any row, column, or box. A row, column, or box is called a unit. And there are rules to the puzzle, but let's first, if English is not your native language, or I thought to how to pronounce it, and for that I went into the Cambridge Dictionary, and let's hear how to pronounce according to UK.
Sudoku.
And according to the US,
Sudoku.
Sudoku. So that's the how to pronounce it, and now there are rules to that one, and these varies from according to Sudoku Kingdom. The rules are, there is only one valid solution to solve a Sudoku puzzle, and that is the way that puzzles can be considered solved correctly is when all 81 boxes contain numbers and other Sudoku rules have been also followed. So it's not like that, okay, you just need to fill it. And those rules varies, we need to follow those rules, not varies mean. And when you need to start a game, some blocks will be pre-filled. And you cannot change these numbers in the course of the game when you're doing it. So each column must contain all of the numbers from 1 to 9. And no two numbers in the same column of a Sudoku puzzle can be the same. Similarly, each row must contain all the numbers 1 through 9. And no two numbers in the same row of a Sudoku puzzle can be the same. And then each block must contain all of the numbers 1 through 9, and no two numbers in the same block of Sudoku puzzle can be the same. And Sudoku solution, when the rules are applied, the solved Sudoku puzzle I'll put it in the show notes. So some of the examples which I did it when I was learning it, and I started from very basic. And there is a lot of websites available, but I will put it everything on this show notes to just share with you. And these puzzles are starting from difficulty levels even. It start from very easy, and then it's called easy to hard or very hard, ultra hard or impossible. And because my objective was to first understand and then write a code in Python language and submit as assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share you the logic behind, and if you want to go and you want to listen by yourself, there is a very good course from MIT, and it's a puzzle 8 with you wouldn't want to play Sudoku again. And it is a very good video, and I will put it in the show notes so you can go and understand that one. There is a Python code is also available. So what I'm gonna do is first we need to understand the rules. That's important, and I will just repeat it for myself, not only for you. That the rules of Sudoku is it contains a 9 into 9, basically 9x9 puzzle grid. And then it's divided into 3 blocks of 9 numbers. And each number of any cell in the box 9 puzzle can only be a number between 1 to 9, and both inclusive is basically. And which are the smaller blocks, each 3 into 3 blocks should have all the numbers between 1 to 9 in any cell. As a 3 into 3 block has 9 cells, it is now clear that no number can repeat. Similarly, each row of the 9 into 9 puzzle must have all the numbers between 1 to 9. Again, the same rule that each cell even no number can repeat. So each column needs to have the numbers between 1 to 9 as well, and as equal to the row and the column, no number can repeat. So block, row, and column. No repeater of the 0 or 1 to 9 numbers. Now what I visualized it, how to build it, or how to, from a visualization point of view, I thought let's first visualize it. Because it was for me it was the first time, so maybe you're expert in that. And then the hard part is to visualize it, and then you write down in a plain English or you're understanding your own language. And then the later part is that how you're going to go and develop in Python language. That's a second part on that one. And steps to build the program is, we need to, if we take in a larger 5 to 6 steps, we need to iterate through the puzzle from left to right, or from left to right, from top to bottom. And then iteration through the puzzle till you find an empty cell, because there are some cells are filled, and then we need to find an empty cell. Once we found the cell, then we need to we need to fill with the valid number. And a valid number is the one that is neither in the row in which the cell exists, and in the column which the cell exists, and in the block. So valid number will fulfill 3 categories: cell, column, block. As we know, because there is no number can repeat, so that's how it will become our valid number, and we need to iterate it till we will find that valid number. And once we find a valid number, we need to go back again, repeat step 2 and 3. Iterate till you find an empty cell, then find a valid number, and then again iterate it. And then once we found a valid number, then what we need to do is, if we reach to a point where no number is valid in the empty cell, then we can backtrack and move to previous cell filled by the algorithm to find the next valid number, and continue repeating the puzzle step 2, 3 using backtracking, finding the next valid number. Backtracking might it looks complex, but we'll talk about it on the backtracking. So we need to repeat process until no empty cell exists in this puzzle. That's how we need to iterate. We need to backtrack, and then we need to write a Python function. So maybe we need to write one function to help load the puzzle from the text file. That's one is required, because we need to have a pre-filled values or a text file or from here. Then we need to write a function to find an empty cell, and then a function to find if number is valid to be filled in an empty cell, a function to print the board at any moment as and when needed, a function to solve the puzzle using the this method. So that's how we are going to build our algorithm for the Python. Now I have a constraint that I cannot share my Python algorithm at this point of time, but I'm going to update this our podcast or the blogs on the otechtalks.tv later on, maybe after 3-4 weeks, when I got the assignment or with the rating or the marks is grading is done. Then I will come back and I will update here my Python code. But there are number of Python codes and functions are available, frankly, on the internet. And if you are very new to that one, then I think very good is from Peter Norvig, who is the author of this artificial intelligence modern approach, the book. And he has put together Sudoku notations, preliminary notations, and in a very detail, that a puzzle is solved if the squares in each unit are filled with the permutation of the digit 1 to 9, and with the Python code. And that's, I like it if you wanna do it with the constraint propagation, search, result analysis. That's where you can start from, and it's available on the show notes, all the links on that one. So that's how you can learn from that. Now there are parts to it that solving complex one or harder one, it varies according to the way the moment you will start, and then you will start improving it, that how you. And then there is another thing, is it's not only solving it, it's how quickly, what resources or constraints you want to put it on that one. That's also important on that one. Now my takeaway is that yes, if you're new to the programming, or you haven't done it, maybe you are not coming from the computer science background, you need to spend some few hours to understand the concepts, and then visualize the code or the functions or algorithm which you can write down, and learn how to write the Sudoku puzzle. That's how I did it, and I thought to share with you. Now I will share some of the more key takeaways on that one shortly. Different methods to solve the Sudoku search, and some techniques which we can talk is, which is basically, one is maybe a backtracking, which is very famous, that to use the backtracking algorithm, which is basically a brute force search. Backtracking is a depth first search in contrast to a breadth first search, and even DFS or BFS, shortly called as, which is also a very important topic on that one. And it will completely explore one branch to a possible solution before moving to another branch. And it has been established that approximately 5.96 into grid 1126 final grid exists, and a brute force algorithm can be a practical method to solve Sudoku puzzles. And a brute force algorithm with the empty cells in some order, filling the digits sequentially, and backtracking when the number is found to be not valid. A program would solve a puzzle by placing the digit 1 in the first cell and then checking if it is allowed to be there. If there are no violations, for example checking row, column and box constraints, then the algorithm advances to the next cell and places a 1 in that cell. And when checking for violations, if it discovers that the 1 is not allowed, the value is advanced to 2. And if a cell is discovered where none of the 9 digits is allowed, then the algorithm leaves the cell blank and move back to the previous cell. And the value in that cell is incremented by 1, and this is repeated until the allowed value in the last or 81st cell is discovered. And that's how it's called the backtracking solution or technique to solve the Sudoku code. Then there is another one, which is stochastic search or optimization method, And it can also be solved through random based algorithm. For example, randomly assigning numbers to the blank cell in the grid, calculating the number of errors, shuffle the inserted numbers until the number of mistakes is reduced to 0. And this is also a one famous approach where you use the shuffling the numbers, similar to tunneling, genetic algorithm, and taboo search. That's number of area on that one, that's another technique. Then another one is basically constraint programming, which is through the constraint satisfaction problem. And in this one, it is used as describe many reasoning algorithm based on constraint, which can be applied to model and solve problems. Some constraint solvers include a method to model and solve Sudokus, and a program may require less than 100 lines of code to solve a simple Sudoku. And so the number of options techniques are available, and I think those can be used and can be explored based on to how to solve it for a number of areas, and based on the way you are reading it. For example, we were starting with a constraint back, this breadth first search or depth first search, and the backtracking, and then that was quite famous on that one, which I worked on it. And then there is another one which is you need to keep in mind, either you are using brute force exhaustive search method, or backtracking, constraint satisfaction problem, or even a forward checking with minimum remaining value heuristics. So that is also some of the techniques you need to put in place when you're solving it. Another good algorithm, I like it from I think paper submitted in Stanford University, and I put it in the show note, and that was Android app was developed that allows a Sudoku puzzle to be extracted and solved in real time using the captured images from the device's camera. And the user sees a near real-time feed of the device camera. If the camera sees Sudoku puzzle with reasonable clarity, the puzzle will be solved, and the capture and computed values will be overlaid on top of the camera feed with a proper perspective. While most of the steps of the implemented in the project were very similar to existing Sudoku solvers. So if you go to the detail overview of algorithm of this program Android app, it capture image from the camera, then binarize with adaptive thresholding, extract largest connected components, wrap perspective using these four corners of this connected component, estimate grid cell corners using structured elements, and then digit extraction using largest these extraction component within the cell. So they will extract it, then digit recognition by finding a template of least square error, solve Sudoku using backtracking, overlay solution values at cell centers, and undo wrap perspective. And that's how it was done as part of that one, and I like it. It was a good technique to solve it and use the algorithms and put together on that one. So I will put in the show notes for your knowledge. And some of the background to Sudoku, if you are new to that one, and I think it started back in 2005, a lot of papers. And in USA, it is called also a number place, which is in Japan, it's become a Sudoku. And there are good paper about it that it wrote about how it's got started and some background that and according to the book of Peter Gordon and Frank, who they wrote about it, that it says Sudoku is an N2 or N to N2, it's N square or N square into that is initially filled with a certain number of cells, and the number of cells initially filled in generally typifies the difficulty of the Sudoku. The fewer cells, the harder the Sudoku. The goal is to fill in the entire grid without repeating any number 1 through n in each row and column, or n in box. Each digit 1 through n will therefore be used only once. So that's just a formal definition how the Sudoku and its complexity varies based on the understanding. And there are a number of resources available, frankly, and it can be some math version, and some of the people even they are very expert on solving to the paper. And my objective was to come up with Python, because we are reading or studying as a data science or AI subject. And that's one of the very initial common programming or common assignment which you will get it in a number of universities. And they have so much material if you talk about from a university's point of view, lectures, recorded lectures, even PDFs, and the videos and the presentations are available on a lot of the university's material. And that's it. I think it's just sharing with you the learning what I'm doing it. And eventually the core part is that it will give you understanding on while solving the puzzle to writing a functions and in the Python language, and getting the grip on it, and how quickly you can solve it. Again, it depends on your computer hardware, and then what functions or procedures you are gonna use it. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening this session, and let's keep learning, sharing with each other. And I'm happy that you are keep sharing your feedback, and our downloads are increasing day by day. Have a wonderful day ahead, and talk to you next week. And that's one of the activity which I usually do on my weekend. And here I'm based in Dubai, so my weekend is on Friday and Saturday, so I usually spend some time on the weekend to record this based on whatever I'm doing it as part of my study or any other learning exercise over the week. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Have a blessed life. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the O Tech Talks podcast, and be part of Tech Talks at otechtalks.tv. It's a turf to share ideas, insights, and innovations.